Hello, this is John Miller, the creator of this podcast. Now, the rest of Everest is probably the most in-depth look at just what it takes to climb the world's highest peak. But keep in mind that it is a series. And if you're checking out the podcast for the first time, do yourself a favor, go back to episode 0 and watch everything in order. That's really the right way to enjoy it. Thanks so much.
This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience.
Episode 90, the shortest of the tallest.
Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest. I'm John Miller, joined as always by Scott Jacobs out in California. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well, John. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it is great to be back. Had a long break after my yearly trip up to Maine, and I want to take the opportunity right now to say that Scott and the Yosemite Valley Search and Rescue out in Yosemite National Park in California are going to be featured on a Discovery Channel program called Deadliest Season? Dangerous Season. What's it called, Scott?
I think it's called Dangerous Seasons. I don't know much about it, but a film crew came out last year and followed Yosar around for a while. Some of the high-angle rescues and some of the searches in the park. So, yeah, it's going to, I believe, air on the 16th. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, August 16th. And you guys know Scott fairly well from these episodes, but you really don't see him in his kind of day-to-day job, which is being a national park ranger. And he actually, you are in charge of search and rescue within your district of the park. Isn't that correct?
Somewhat. I work with the coordinator, and yes, some of the times I am the incident commander on a lot of searches. Other times I play just a very supportive role.
Great. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's a team effort there. But I just wanted to kind of, give some shed some light on that, because Scott does work very hard in his job along with everyone else he works with. And hey, who knows? He might actually make it into the final cut of this program airing on the 16th, August 16th, for those of you who are watching the show as it's released. So, check that out on the Discovery Channel, and might be really interesting to see, and you might see someone you know. So, anyway, let's get back to Tibet. It's been a while now, and we're going to be heading up to a beautiful pass, and we're going to get ready to leave Tibet in the next couple of weeks. So, let's head up to some more altitude, and let's get back up to the Tibetan Plateau. So here we go. So this was our first morning out of Old Tingri, and we were just driving along the Friendship Highway, and we saw these birds here, all this wildlife. It was pretty cool.
I remember promising myself I would get home and look these up, but never did.
They sound like whooping cranes.
They really do. I mean, they look like cranes too, but of course it is halfway around the world and would need to consult Sibley's Sibley's Guide to Tibet.
It was so quiet. It was really, really great. And there are these ducks there that look so much like something you'd find on the other side of the planet from the USA. We've left base camp, obviously. Base camp's long behind us. But I want to make sure that all of you who are watching stay subscribed and keep watching, because there's still a lot of really cool footage that's going to be coming your way over the next few weeks. There was, even though you're kind of in the middle of nowhere with along the highway here, there still is. There's actually quite a bit of traffic. Every few minutes, someone passes you. It's actually pretty amazing. It just looks like there's no one around, but there seems to be people just about everywhere. That shot's a pretty good representation of the Tibetan Plateau.
Wide open.
Not known for its lush forests. I just really love these kinds of landscapes.
You know, we've talked about this before, and somewhat compared it to the desert. And this is just one of those scenes that reminds me of the desert. If you just quiet long enough, you realize just how much life there is out there with the birds and, of course, the people driving past. But it just gets this great desert feel to it, even though it's the Tibetan high plains. It's the only thing I can compare it to.
Yeah. I'm spoiled living in Colorado where there's no humidity. Going back to Maine every year, I just love it, but you kind of feel like you're underwater, just in the living room at the cottage because it's so humid. But I struggle hiking in humid weather and humid environments. I really like the desert. This was kind of funny. We're heading up to a pass here, and I know how much people liked seeing, you know, these kind of point of view from the top of the vehicles. So I filmed a lot of them, but this time I was cruising along here with the camera out the window, and all of a sudden the battery fell off the camera and went crashing down the roof of the car. And young our driver was like, "What just happened?"
Very protective of his Land Cruiser.
Threw on the brakes, and then we backed up and found the battery, which was completely destroyed. But
I remember this.
I actually thought maybe my lens had fallen off or something. I was it's like, oh no. But this is Tong La Pass, and in 2003, this was the first pass that we went over coming out of Kathmandu. And so this was actually, back then, the first view of, you know, the high Himalaya. And so this is actually the last view of the high Himalaya for us in this 2007 trip. I guess Tong La means pass, and I guess Tong La means pass with a good view. And it does have a good view. That right there is the shortest of the tallest mountains in the world. That is Shishapangma, the 14th highest mountain in the world. And you know, even though, let's say, it's the shortest, it's certainly not the smallest. It's an enormous mountain, just enormous.
Now Ben was en route to climb this while we were. Basically, it was a few days behind us at this point. Is that correct?
Yep. Well, Ben actually, in 2007, Ben arrived on the same Thai Airways jet that we left on when we returned home to the United States, and because
don't run.
I can hear you saying don't run. Because Lobsang was arranged through Karma, our Karma Sherpa Babu in Kathmandu, we were heading to Zhang Mu here, which is the border town with Nepal, and Lobsang and Younglo were going to stay in Zhang Mu and wait for Ben, his now wife Annie, and everyone to come up from Kathmandu, and then he was going to guide them into Shishapangma base camp and then take Annie up to Lhasa while Ben was climbing Shishapangma. So they actually got to meet Lobsang.
Very good.
Yeah, we were actually thinking maybe we'd take a side trip to Shishapangma base camp, but there was not going to be any time to do that. I wanted to get a look at it, since I knew Ben was going to be going there, but there just wasn't time since we couldn't get on that original jet to Lhasa from Kathmandu.
I remember this was a little bittersweet, Tong La. This was the last high mountain pass. This was the last high elevation we would be at for our trip to Tibet. I remember thinking about that as we were walking around here, and just how I love the mountains and how I love elevation. And, you know, of course, these passes are sacred too. That's where the spirits dwell. And so it was just kind of a nice afternoon walking around this. Of course, it's trashed with decoration, but it still feels pretty holy. It's pretty special.
Well, earlier you saw me filming those prayer wheels that they're kind of like little windmills where the wind can spin them. It's pretty neat. But, you know, I guess technically it's all downhill from here to Kathmandu. I think Tong La is about 15 to 16,000 feet in altitude. Scott actually took a photo of me on this pass, which is one of what I think the coolest photos of me ever taken. He took this huge panoramic photo of me with my tripod looking into the viewfinder of my camera. I should have stuck it in here, but the video doesn't do it justice. You guys see it, its whole panorama.
It's actually one of my favorite photos because it's just, I don't know, it kind of sums up the trip pretty nicely. High mountains and cameras.
Yep.
So this is the top of Tong La Pass, which basically translates to La means pass, and so basically means pass with a really nice view. That's Shishapangma right over there, and that's the, it's funny, that's the lowest in altitude of all of the 8,000 meter peaks, so that's, you could say it's the smallest. It's pretty darn big.
The smallest of the big.
It's 8,012 meters.
It's towering over all the surrounding mountains.
And that is the only 8,000 meter peak completely 100% within Tibet. Everything else is around the border with Nepal or Tibet and India, or in Pakistan. And so it's a really large mountain. I remember seeing it in 2003 and being just blown away by its just sheer hulking mass. Whereas Everest just sort of juts straight up. Shishapangma has all these buttresses and everything. It's just a beautiful mountain. But from here, it's just downhill all the way to Zhang Mu, and then keep going downhill to Kathmandu. So after we roll the car forward, it'll be downhill all the way home.
We're on our way.
So I think it's about time to get going.
I think so.
You can tell that we don't always watch a lot of these episodes before we do the commentary, so you kind of hear everything 2 or 3 times. This is in the town of Nialam, and Nialam is sort of like the last town in Tibet along the Friendship Highway before you really head out into the country. You know, the real, you know, rural kind of Tingri type towns. And we were just stopping here for lunch. A lot of teams will spend a couple of nights in Nialam and do some hikes to get acclimated before they head to Tingri, and then they'll stay a night in Tingri before heading up to base camp.
To your friends and partners as well. Wishes you have a pleasant trip. Welcome again with your suggestions and comments. Banam Tibetan restaurant. Reservation call. 장아몽 아니도에마다 큰일이네.
What's the problem?
No.
He says no problem.
I'm not exactly sure what just happened there.
Yeah, I mean, she's providing me the, milk tea. So I said, not for us, for them.
He does not want milk tea?
We
can share.
Yeah, 쌈방이었다.
If you like some, share.
Water you want? 상은 죽어서.
I think he was embarrassed because she was serving him before us.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know though. You see how we pushed the glass towards us. Like you said, I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but you know, he wasn't super fond of milk tea. I remember.
All of these restaurants that we go to, they're all places that Lobsang knows well. He knows all the people, he knows all the proprietors, and let's just be honest, the proprietor's daughters. And
well,
so,
you saw him flirting there.
Yeah. So he always took us to places that he really liked himself. So you can see he gets really at home at a lot of these places. He spends a lot of time away from Lhasa on tours of Tibet.
This little girl is the cutest.
Is it hard to find the Tibetan sounds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for them, they need Chinese.
Yeah.
Oh, they need Chinese.
Yeah, she said. You know, we have pronunciations in Chinese. When we learn, before we learn the Chinese, how to read, you know, we have to learn like alphabets. I mean letters like B, B, F. Like, you know, they are supposed to be the alphabets
Yeah.
for Chinese.
How many characters? How many letters?
These were Tibetans, and they were asking him to teach them some Chinese. Just to clarify here.
24. Yeah, it's like vowel or letters.
Yeah.
Like it's necessary before you learn. I mean, before you learn any Chinese.
Sure.
So like when we know like English, I mean before you learn Chinese, we get mixed up. Like when they say like po, this is stronger actually. In Chinese, B is stronger actually.
Okay.
In English, it seems to be B is much stronger, right? B,
B.
B. Like
Yeah.
here it's po, po. This is stronger actually. This is the first letter. Po. Even for Q, G, chi, it's chi. And Z, H, it's not the, it's ta.
Ta.
Yeah. And for Z, it's Z. Yeah. R for R. 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 Yeah, it's different actually. Yeah, it's good that I have learned this finger. That's why I'm not. I mean, that's why I'm quite familiar with these letters.
Sure.
When they write on a board like Zhang Mu, it's not Zhang Mu. It's Zhang Mu actually.
Tamu?
Yeah, it's Zhang Mu actually.
Huh.
But when they write, I mean, when they write the letters, you know,
Yeah.
they put it's ta for Chinese. Zhang Mu, Zhang Mu, it's Zhang Mu. For us, it's Zhang Mu.
Tamu.
Actually, it is Zhang Mu. So since it's been written in books, I mean, even for us, we call it Zhang Mu. It's
Zhang Mu.
not Zhang Mu. It's Zhang Mu. That's why, because of this letter.
Yeah.
For that also, t,
Cha.
not ch.
Ta.
But when they pronounce change, it's change for them. I will write one. There's a guy called Zhang, but when they pronounce it, it's Dang, Mr. Dang.
Huh.
It's Mr. Dang. So this is different.
It's always interesting. It's one of the things I like about international travel is that there's so many layers to it, and you know there's all of the intricacies of the different languages, and the fact that Zhang Mu is known as Zhang Mu only really because the tourists pronounce it Zhang Mu, and you know so much of their economy is based on tourism now that it's referred to incorrectly as Zhang Mu.
Become Zhang Mu. This is one of the joys of hanging out with Lapsang. Is that I'm not sure. I think we get to see a different side of Tibetans too, a little less formal. They were much more willing just to hang out with Lapsang and us, you know, as a result. But I don't know if they would do that if we were just traveling alone. They would sit down and talk, and we'd just chat and have fun and laugh. So it was a good side to see.
We did a lot of this, didn't we?
We did. A lot of sitting in tea house and cafe and just drinking tea.
And just absorbing all of, you know, the different kinds of people, and just great.
Bye. Thank you. You are welcome.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
You are welcome.
Yeah, there she
Very
goes.
good. Yeah.
We did our own little tutorials there too.
She asked us how to say that. Do you remember?
Yep, I do.
She wanted to know.
I think this boy here, he was asking for money, and you know, so it can be difficult because, you know, everyone says, you know, you're not supposed to just give money away and everything, and so, you know, the boy's Tibetan and Lopsong's Tibetan, and Lopsong wouldn't say, no, I'm not going to give you money. Go away, kid. You're bothering me. You know, he'd start playing with them. Just everywhere we go, he was playing with kids. And it was really cool to see. He just had a really, just a very good, you know, charming way of dealing with all of that. And I don't know if that's just him or if that's just something that he's gotten used to living in this country. But I thought it was great. Really, really nice to see just how happy he was to just be around his fellow, you know, country people. It's just really cool. Well, thanks a lot, Scott.
John, thank you.
I also want to say that anyone watching this episode this week of the 11th of August 2008, if anyone's going to be at the New Media Expo in Las Vegas this coming weekend, I will be there for part of Friday and all of Saturday. I believe that's the 15th and 16th. Hope that's right. And so if you see a guy who looks kind of familiar wearing a Rest of Everest t-shirt, it's probably me. So go up and say hi. And with that, we'll say goodbye and look forward to next week's episode where we get into Zhang Mu and then we leave Tibet. So thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye. The Rest of Everest is downloaded all over the world every week. If you enjoy watching and would like to show your support, then take a look at my website. Aside from having lots of additional blog entries from the expedition updated every week, there's this little donation button on every page. Now, many of you have pressed that button, and your generous contributions are helping to cover my hosting fees. If you haven't donated but would like to, then just contribute any amount. In return, I'll give you access to the video and audio dispatches I sent out while we were actually at Everest. It's pretty interesting stuff. Contribute $25 or more, and I'll even throw in an iPod-compatible version of the film Everest: The Other Side. That's the project the entire podcast here is based on. As always, our announcer is Marlon May, and our music is provided by Wendy Wu. Check her out at wendywu.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching The Rest of Everest. For more information on the expedition, please visit therestofeverest.com.